pumpkin spice, and everything nice. It is October, it's officially fall. I can now wear my Halloween sweater, which I'm thrilled about. Who doesn't love dogs dressed up as ghosts? And I am in the mood for some fall goodies. I am someone who is a huge fan of all things pumpkin and pumpkin spice flavor. So we of course had to do something pumpkin themed in the freeze dryer today to welcome fall and the delicious flavors that go with it. I have actually never made a homemade pumpkin pie before. I've made plenty of pumpkin flavored desserts and treats, but never a pumpkin pie filling, and I thought it would be so good to make a pumpkin pie filling, freeze dry it, and then I'm gonna show you what I'm doing with it afterwards, but it's gonna be so good. So I got these pie pumpkins from Costco. I've always been someone who just used canned pumpkin puree in my pumpkin recipes, but I'm going all out today. I'm gonna make my own pumpkin puree. So my first job is to just get these cut in half, scoop out all the insides, and then we are gonna cook up the pumpkins to get our puree. Oh my gosh, so look how good. Here's all my pumpkin seeds. I'm definitely gonna save these and roast them because I love a roasted pumpkin seed, but I'm just gonna put these to the side for now. These are all of my pumpkin halves. These are 4 pie pumpkins, and I mean, I don't know if I cleaned them out well enough, but it was not the most easy task, so it is what it is. We're just gonna roll with it. I am just roasting these face down in the oven. I didn't add anything to them. At 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. You just want them to be fork tender. So we made it back from our Arizona vacation last night, and there is definitely a chill in the air here in Alaska. Luckily, the weather is not full of rain this week, but the highs are in the 40s, so we're definitely cooling down. The good news is that there is no snow on the top of this mountain yet, so we still have some time, but it definitely is dead and brown. A few little leaves still left on the trees, but most of them are gone. So our pumpkins roasted for about an hour, and then supposedly the skins are supposed to just be able to peel off. We will see how easy this is. Okay, it's actually, I think, doing okay. I probably need to let these cool a little bit longer. I think you also might be entertained by the dumb thing I did on our flight down to Arizona. There was a bit of drama, and I made a not very smart mistake and left something behind on the plane. I'll have to tell you about it while I'm working on these pumpkins. So I am going to get my pumpkin into a blender to just puree this up. If it's a little too thick while blending, you can add a few tablespoons of water. I will probably need to do this in 2 batches and then see how we are looking. So I left my purse on the plane. Our flight got into Seattle on time, no problems. We had a very short window of our layover, 45 minutes. We got on the ground. There was too much, apparently, airplane traffic for us to get to our gate. It literally took 45 minutes for us to drive to our gate. And that's how long our layover was. So in the mad rush of trying to get my kids off the plane and all of our stuff, and forgot my purse. So I'm in the middle of trying to get that back from Delta. Hopefully it happened, but hopefully you can learn from me. Don't leave your purse on the plane because it's a big pain. This texture looks fabulous. I am like shocked at how much pumpkin puree I got out of those 4 pumpkins. I don't know, I was expecting it to be a lot less, but this is quite exciting. Now, if you wanted to just freeze dry pumpkin puree, you could stop right here, put this on your freeze dryer trays and freeze dry it, and then you just powder it down and you've got powdered pumpkin puree that you could add to any of your delicious recipes. I'm gonna take it one step further and make a pumpkin pie filling to freeze dry. This is gonna be an eggless pumpkin pie filling recipe because I'm not gonna be cooking it, so I just wanted to find one without eggs so you're not consuming like raw eggs. I'm gonna use a kitchen scale to weigh out our pumpkin puree. The recipe starts with using 15 ounces of pumpkin puree. It says a 15-ounce can, so I'm just gonna measure 15 ounces into my bowl. I will have this recipe linked in the video description below. I am doubling it, so this is 30 ounces of our puree, and then we need 1 cup of applesauce, which is equivalent to 2 of these little kids' tubs, unsweetened. Next is 2 cans of evaporated milk. Next, I'm going in with 1.5 cups of just granulated white sugar. 4 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Look at my new measuring spoon set. They magnetize together and they have so many, like any measurement you could ever want. 1 teaspoon. There it is, and you get both shapes. I just got this on Amazon. They're under $10 and I'm obsessed. I am just gonna mix this all together with a whisk until it's nice and combined. There is one more ingredient you could use to thicken this up if you were gonna make it as an actual pumpkin pie. The recipe I had found was to use 3 tablespoons of a tapioca flour, or you could also use cornstarch. Since I am just turning this into a powder, I'm not worried about thickening this up. Usually the eggs would be what thickens your pumpkin pie filling, but obviously we're not doing eggs. So I am honestly just going to mix this up, and then that's gonna be it. Since I made a double batch of the pumpkin pie mix, I think that's gonna be plenty of pumpkin pie powder for us. I have all of this left of my pureed pumpkin, so I'm gonna do 1 full tray of just plain pumpkin puree. I'm just gonna spread it out onto my tray lined with my Harvest Right tray liner. I am definitely going to be pre-freezing this pumpkin for the freeze dryer just to save time and energy on my actual freeze drying machine. The pumpkin puree is ready to go. I'm gonna show you how I get my more liquidy things onto my trays, because this pumpkin pie filling is very liquidy, and if I were to pour it into my trays and carry it down to my basement freezer, I would make an enormous mess. But there is a trick to getting your liquids into your freezer without spilling it everywhere. So I'm here at my freezer. I've got my first tray going in. Your next tray you're gonna set right on top of your first one. I have put my pumpkin pie filling into a pitcher, and I am just going to pour it directly into my tray here. I've got 3 trays, so I'm gonna try to just do this in thirds. This is 2 quarts. Okay. But you just pour on what you want. I need to add a little more. There we go. I then add my lid. And then slide on my next tray. Now, isn't that cool? If I would have tried to carry that down myself, down my flight of stairs, it would not have been pretty. This works out so nice. And then I'm gonna let it freeze overnight, and then in the morning, we can pull them out and put them in the freeze dryer. I never even tasted it. Okay. So good. I love pumpkin pie. I will catch you guys in the morning. I get to now go work on my computer and change all of my payment methods and credit cards that I have auto payments on for all of our bills and stuff. That is the biggest pain of losing your credit cards, is having to change all of the online things. Please tell me I'm not the only one who has done this. I mean, it can't be that often that people leave their entire purse on the airplane, but that's what I did. Look at this. I thought you might enjoy a little moose action in the neighborhood. My kids were actually just playing like at the next house over, and they were very responsible and saw that the moose was there and made sure when they were walking home that they kept their distance. They stayed on the other side of the street. They weren't walking in front of that house, but across from it. And so they were safe. They have been trained at school about moose safety, but you always got to keep your eyes open walking around the neighborhoods. Good morning to you all, and good morning to Vanilla Ice. Let's get this cooling down so we can get our pumpkin pie into the freeze dryer. I'm gonna put that at -10. We pre-froze, so we don't need any extra freeze time. Dry temp, I'll leave at 125. Extra dry time, I'm gonna put at 6 hours. Save, start. We just wait 15 minutes before loading up our trays. And I'm gonna wait until the 15 minutes is up before I pull my trays out of the freezer so that they don't start like defrosting. I've made that mistake before. Here we go. These smell so good. You know, a lot of times I worry about food stinking up my basement when I'm freeze drying them, but these are gonna make my basement smell heavenly. So here's our pumpkin puree and the pumpkin pie filling right here. Vanilla ice is ready to load up. So I just closed my drain valve. Now we can get these in. I will keep you updated on how long this takes. My freeze dryer has been running for 29 hours. It says that it was done about 5 hours ago, but I've been working at school all day, so I want to do a weigh test before I fully pull these out, just so that I know that they are fully freeze dried. To do that, I just push a little leaf, and then I just got to open the drain valve. I got a new kitchen scale on Amazon because I needed one for my freeze dryer room and one to keep up in my kitchen because I use it for sourdough bread making, and I'm always going back and forth and running up and down the stairs when I need the scale. This was under 10 bucks and on Amazon, and it's chargeable. This thing is awesome. So I'll have that linked in the video description if you need a scale. But now that the food is back in the freeze dryer, I'm just gonna hit add more dry time, close my drain valve, hit continue. So vanilla ice is gonna run for 2 more hours, and then I'm gonna repeat the same process. Pull the trays out, re-weigh them, and then compare the weights. If the weights are the same, then everything is fully freeze dried. If the weights are changing, then I will have to let it go for a few more hours. Hopefully it's done because I can't wait to try the recipe I have in mind. And something super exciting happened last night. We had another Northern Light show, and this one was amazing. You could see it with the naked eye. They were everywhere, in front of my house, behind the mountain, behind my house. I got some footage to show you. I'll show you when this comes out of the freeze dryer. The pictures I got, my camera quality is not that great, but we saw greens, we saw reds, we saw some purples. Like, it was stunning. And it was so nice that it wasn't like 0 degrees outside. It was like in the high 30s. So all you needed was a jacket and you were fine. And I was able to stay out there for like 20 minutes just watching and not freezing to death. So that's a perk to early fall Northern Lights. It's not as cold as when it happens in the dead of winter, but it was so beautiful. I mean, so pretty. Good news, our weights were all the same, so my trays are all completely freeze dried. The moisture has been removed, and we can pull them out. Here are my trays. We got our pumpkin pie and our pumpkin puree. Look how nicely this came out. Like, one sheet. Feels like styrofoam. Because I'm gonna be powdering this down, I'm just gonna get it into a container, and then I need to take it upstairs to my blender to blend it up. But it looks like this is coming off in one piece also for the most part, which is super convenient. Here's my pumpkin puree and my pumpkin pie filling. There's obviously more of the pumpkin pie because I had more trays of that, but This is so good. I'm gonna show you, I'm packaging this in mason jars because this is something that I'm gonna be using frequently over the next 2 months because it's fall, y'all, right? Pumpkin everything. So we need to go turn these down into a powder. We'll go do that upstairs and I'll bring you with me. To powder this down, I'm just gonna run it through my blender and jar it up in mason jars. Oh, come on, lid. This is really hard. Ugh. Ouch. So I got 1 and about 1/2 to 3/4 jars of the pumpkin pie, y'all. I am such a mess. I had to rinse out my blender so that the pumpkin pie doesn't contaminate the pumpkin puree. I should have done those in opposite orders, but I wanted to taste the pumpkin pie, the freeze-dried piece of pumpkin pie. I am dead. That could be a dessert on its own, the freeze-dried pumpkin pie. As you chew it, it just tastes like you're eating pumpkin pie, like it's melting in your mouth into pumpkin pie filling. So good. I'm just gonna do the pumpkin puree next and then we can seal up our jars. I am using my new fancy jar sealer to seal up the lids of my jars. These will keep these fresh on your pantry shelves by just vacuum sealing the top. It's not long-term storage like the 20-25 year storage that a Mylar bag gives you, but mason jars can still give you a 10 to 15 year shelf life. If you throw in an oxygen absorber, then that gives you even better freshness. But I'm gonna be using these within the next month or 2, so I'm not even worried about putting an oxygen absorber in here. It makes your lids nice and tight. There's a bunch of kids in my house right now, so the screaming is the children. Don't mind that. Okay, here's my jars of pumpkin pie and then my 2 jars of pumpkin puree. Let me know your ideas for what you would use the pumpkin puree for. But the pumpkin pie, I got stuff stirring up here. I said I would show you my Northern Lights pictures after I packaged the pumpkin. I almost forgot. Okay, here's the Northern Lights footage. An exciting video today. We had a moose and Northern Lights. I don't think it gets any more Alaskan than that. So lately my favorite treat at night has been a slice of my homemade sourdough bread with creamed vanilla honey on top of it. It is just like so good. So I thought, what would be better than pumpkin pie butter? Doesn't that sound so good? So I'm just gonna put 2 softened sticks of butter into a bowl. I have no idea how much to add, but we're just gonna start with some and see how it looks. I tasted it, it needs more pumpkin. Here's how the final product came out. It smells so good. I did add about a tablespoon of heavy cream also to just make it a little more creamy and moist, but I'm ready to try this. This looks so good. Honestly, I don't think I've tasted a better butter. Pumpkin pie butter. So freaking good. So my next idea on how to use the pumpkin pie spice is to put it into a protein shake and make a pumpkin pie protein. Isn't this the cutest cup? It comes from the Disney Aulani Resort in Hawaii. I have never been, but my friend who lives next door went last summer and she brought me back this as a souvenir. So this is my dedicated protein shake cup. because it just makes you happy looking at Mickey Mouse in Hawaii. Have you ever been there? I would love to go. I know it's very expensive, but they said it was so worth it and so much fun. So I don't know, if you've been to Alani, let me know if you think it was worth it, but I love the cup. Another winner. It reminds me of when I used to, every fall, I would go to Jamba Juice and get the pumpkin smash Jamba Juice shake. And it's heavenly. This is giving me pumpkin smash vibes from Jamba Juice. If I would have blended it up in ice, it would be more similar. This obviously is just more liquidy than what a Jamba Juice would be, but it tastes like a dessert and you're getting some protein in. So this is a win. So today's just been a busy day. I substituted at my kids' school. I finished my pumpkin freeze drying, and then my son at school today lost a tooth, and all of my kids have one of these cute little tooth fairy pillows, but my middle child, I hadn't made his yet because he just hasn't lost a tooth in so long. He finally lost a tooth today and was like, Mom, you didn't make my tooth fairy pillow. So mom guilt set in. So I got on my sewing machine and made him his tooth fairy pillow. Isn't it adorable? It's an embroidery and applique design, and it's just a fun way for kids to celebrate losing a tooth. You stick your tooth in a little pocket, and then the tooth fairy comes, and then the tooth fairy leaves the money back here, and it's just a cute little personalized thing. So, you know, they just take me forever to make. I'm tired. But my last idea that I didn't have time to do was to make a pumpkin pie spice sourdough loaf of bread and use that pumpkin powder actually in the sourdough and see how that turned out. So I'm gonna have to do that in a future video because that also sounds so good. And then topped with the pumpkin pie butter. I will list the ingredients that I used in my pumpkin pie puree in the video description below. If you're interested in freeze dryers, I also have an affiliate link with Harvest Right down in the video description. You can click there, see what they got going on for freeze dryers. I believe their current promotion is $300 off and free shipping in the continental US, not to Alaska. I'm sorry, Alaskans. Look at the sunset. It's 6:45 in the evening. We are quickly losing our daylight around here, but it's part of living in Alaska. And do we remember our little friend, my husband's birthday gift? It's officially October, so now he's really allowed to be hanging up at our house. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember, when you freeze dry today, you secure your tomorrow. Bye, friends.